There was a man who worked as an electronics repairman named Zhu Yuan. He looked lazy and liked to get drunk. Zhu Yuan's life was ruined because his grandfather, an antique seller, betrayed the antique expert Bloom Blossom 5. Zhu Yuan's grandfather gifted the head of a Buddha statue that had disappeared to a Japanese collector named Kido Yuzo. Then his grandfather was executed in front of many people, so his family came to be known as the scum of the earth. When Zhu Yuan was 7 years old, his mother died. Shortly afterward, his father left him nowhere. Then Zhu Yuan lived alone without a family. Other than working as an electronics repairman, Zhu Yuan also worked as an expert in distinguishing between genuine antiques and fake antiques. Zhu Yuan used to trick people by telling them that fake antiques were real antiques. He did this so that he could buy genuine antiques at the lowest possible price. Then he sold them at a very high price. But Zhu Yuan never used the money to eat, but to pay rent. One day, Zhu Yuan came home from work, but there was a woman in his room. The woman named Yan Yan was the granddaughter of the chairman of Bloom Blossom 5, who was underestimated by her own grandfather. Yan Yan invited Zhu Yuan to go somewhere, but he refused because he didn't want to deal with a group that ruined his life. But suddenly, Yan Yan said that Zhu Yuan's father had died a week ago in an accident. Hearing that, Zhu Yuan changed his mind. He recalled memories with his father. Then he imagined his father playing Gu as if to say that Zhu Yuan should not give up. Then Yan Yan drove Zhu Yuan to the hospital and met the policeman who gave him his father's coin. The coin was held before Zhu Yuan's father died. Somewhere, a Japanese woman named Kamakito announced that she would return the Buddha head statue according to her grandfather's last will and testament. They will stated that the head of the Buddha statue was to be passed down to the descendants of Zhu Yuan's grandfather's family, which meant that Zhu Yuan was the heir to the Buddha statue. But the head of Bloom Blossom 5 opposed Kamakito's decision. He suggested that the Buddha statue be given to Bloom Blossom 5's grandson Yao Buren. Soon Yan Yan brought Zhu Yuan to the museum where Yao Buren and Kamakito were. However, Zhu Yuan arrived drunk. After stabilizing, Zhu Yuan saw the statue and wanted to touch it. But Yao Buren forbade him to touch the Buddha head statue. He argued that Zhu Yuan did not deserve the statue because Zhu Yuan was a drunkard and living in obscurity. Zhu Yuan challenged Yao Buren to a competition to see who was the best at distinguishing genuine or fake antiques. Then they were given 10 minutes to identify as many antiques as possible. Yao Buren immediately moved to select antiques and identify them. Meanwhile, Zhu Yuan remained a little drunk and fell asleep, seeing that Kamakito and the others thought that Zhu Yuan was incapable. But Yan Yan immediately gave him 2 bowls to identify. Then Zhu Yuan immediately identified the 2 bowls. This made people surprised because Zhu Yuan was able to identify clearly. Then Zhu Yuan and Yao Buren continued identifying other antiques. Before time ran out, Zhu Yuan tried to prove that Buddha statue was a fake. Zhu Yuan threw it until it broke. He successfully identified the statue as a fake. Until the 10 minutes were up, finally Zhu Yuan was allowed to see the Buddha head statue in a heavily guarded room. But Zhu Yuan knew for sure that the statue was a fake after he held it in his hands. Then Kamakito informed him that his father sent a message that the Buddha statue was indeed missing. Kamakito believed that Zhu Yuan's father was deliberately killed because he knew this fact. Zhu Yuan suddenly remembers his father's coin. He believed that the coin was the clue to finding the original Buddha head statue. Therefore, Kamakito told Zhu Yuan to find the original Buddha head statue so that he could clear his family's name, which was considered a traitor by the people. Hearing that, Zhu Yuan was eager to find it. Elsewhere, the head of Bloom Blossom 5 found out that the Buddha head statue was missing. Then he told Yao Buren to find the real one. At first, Yao Buren didn't believe that the statue was fake, but he did after checking it himself. When Zhu Yuan came home, he saw some thugs coming. They beat him up and showed him the same coin that Zhu Yuan's father had. Then they burned down the place where Zhu Yuan lived. Fortunately, he managed to leave and was safe. After the incident, Zhu Yuan promised to find the real Buddha head statue. The thugs met an old man. It turned out that the thugs were Lao Xiaofeng, who was the head of an antique smuggling and counterfeiting organization. He did this so that Zhu Yuan would have a strong desire to find the original Buddha head statue. The next day, Yan Yan took Zhu Yuan to Zhu Yuan's father's house. When they arrived, Yan Yan found an unusual thing, which was the direction of the compass pointing in the same direction to a wall. It turned out that behind the wall were some real and fake antiques. Zhu Yuan then looked at the items. He realized that the items formed a Morse code that read Fugue. Seeing that, Yan Yan said that Fugue was the name of Zhu Yuan's father's best friend. Then Yan Yan took Zhu Yuan to see Fugue. Shortly after they left, Yao Buren came to Zhu Yuan's father's house. He easily interpreted the Morse code. In the evening, Zhu Yuan and Yan Yan went to the public bathhouse. They looked for the whereabouts of Fugue, who was disguised as a masseuse. At first, Fugue didn't admit that he was Fugue, but Zhu Yuan said that he was the son of Fugue's best friend. Hearing that, Fugue immediately greeted him in a friendly manner. He said that Fugue and his father met a month ago. He gave Fugue a bronze mirror, but Fugue sold it due to economic difficulties. Then the three of them went to get the bronze mirror back. They went to the antique market. Unfortunately, the mirror was auctioned off at a very high price. Seeing that Zhu Yuan asked Yannian and Fugue for help to give up all his money so he could buy the bronze mirror. After that, Zhu Yuan told Yannian to stay at the auction site. Meanwhile, Zhu Yuan and Fugue went to look for antiques and sell them at low prices. Soon the visitors at the market came to Zhu Yuan. Seeing that, Fugue told Zhu Yuan to stop selling antiques, but he ignored Fugue's words. Yao Buren came looking for the mirror. He wanted to buy the bronze mirror. Yannian immediately picked up Zhu Yuan, who was selling. Seeing the visitors coming to Zhu Yuan, Ms. Shen's men picked up Yannian and Zhu Yuan. They went to see Ms. Shen. Zhu Yuan asked Ms. Shen to hand over the bronze mirror because it was fake. Hearing that, Ms. Shen immediately picked it up and showed it to Zhu Yuan. But she didn't give it away even though Zhu Yuan gave the money. Then Ms. Shen ordered her men to beat Zhu Yuan up, but he took the mirror from Ms. Shen's hand. Seeing that, Ms. Shen's men beat Zhu Yuan unconscious. Yannian took Zhu Yuan to the hospital. Zhu Yuan saw Fugue take the mirror when Zhu Yuan wasn't fully conscious. Then Fugue booked a train ticket to return to his hometown. Then Yannian and Zhu Yuan looked for Fugue at the train station. They easily found him and took a paper that Fugue was carrying. Before Zhu Yuan could read the paper, thugs came to arrest Zhu Yuan. Seeing that Zhu Yuan got into the train. Soon Zhu Yuan came out because he saw Yao Buren chasing him. Until Zhu Yuan and Yao Buren finally stopped on the bridge. They made an agreement to exchange the information they got. When Zhu Yuan took the mirror from Yao Buren, the thugs came. Zhu Yuan accidentally dropped the mirror, which made it break. Fortunately, Yannian saw it and collected the shards. Then Yannian and Zhu Yuan run away on the train. Zhu Yuan told Yannian that he had photographed the paper. Then they tried to solve the puzzle. But it turned out that Fugue heard their conversation about planning somewhere. Hearing that, Fugue remembered Zhu Yuan's father's message that asked Fugue to protect Zhu Yuan. Then Fugue offered to help Zhu Yuan and Yannian. He took them to see Goku's father. Unfortunately, he died a week ago. They could see his son named Goku, but on the condition that they had to put a coin in the mouth of the frog dragon statue. They immediately placed the coins. Then they improved their looks by bought clothes and got haircuts. Yannian and Zhu Yuan deliberately left Fugue at the clothing store because they didn't want to involve Fugue in a dangerous situation. Then they went to the frog dragon statue again. They saw that the coin was gone, which meant Goku took it. Then Goku's men invited Zhu Yuan and Yannian to go somewhere. Zhu Yuan and Yannian admitted that they were part of Lao Xiaofeng, who wanted to invite him to cooperate. When they arrived at a village, Zhu Yuan and Yannian were surprised that Yao Buren arrived first. It turned out that Yao Buren also claimed to be part of Lao Xiaofeng. Hearing that, Zhu Yuan and Yannian acted as brother and sister. At first, Goku believed, but he ordered his men to point knives at the three people. Soon Fugue came and pretended to be the father of Yao Buren, Zhu Yuan, and Yannian. Then he pretended to scold them. Seeing that, Goku believed it. It turned out that Goku knew Fugue. Then Goku drank some alcohol until he got drunk. Seeing that, Yannian took advantage of taking the keys to the door on the hill and giving them to Zhu Yuan. Yannian took charge of accompanying Goku while Zhu Yuan and Yao Buren went to the hill. When they arrived at the hill, they saw that there were 12 doors to open. Then they divided it equally to finish quickly. Then Zhu Yuan found a clue like the Gu board that Zhu Yuan and his father used to play. When they solved the code, Yannian was shocked because Goku only pretended to be drunk. Then Goku and his men were about to meet Zhu Yuan. But Lao Xiaofeng's men came. They fought Goku and his men. But Goku managed to run away and met Zhu Yuan and Yao Buren, who were solving clues. Goku pointed a knife at Yannian. Seeing that, Zhu Yuan and Yao Buren panicked. Then Goku took them to a temple to solve the next clue. Then they saw a sign that reminded Goku of the urn left by his father. Goku put the urn and shone a light on it. The urn showed a clue to a hole in the temple. Then they entered the basement. Soon they saw an entire Buddha statue. Zhu Yuan noticed a mark on the statue that always appeared in every clue. It turned out to be a Gu piece that Zhu Yuan used to play with his father, which meant a trap. Then Goku urged Zhu Yuan and Yao Buren to revolt. After a while, the situation calmed down. But Goku was shot by Lao Xiaofeng's men, who took Fugue as a hostage. It turned out that Yao Buren was really part of Lao Xiaofeng. Then the thugs prevented Zhu Yuan from taking the Buddha head statue. Meanwhile, Yao Buren easily took the statue and left with the thugs. Zhu Yuan, Yannian, and Fugue still remained in the ruined basement. They couldn't leave because the thugs were still shooting at them. Fu Bai saw a gun nearby and shot at the thugs. Fortunately, there was no long fallout, but it was difficult for them to get out of the basement because of the rubble. Meanwhile, Fu Bai was seriously injured from being shot. He told Zhu Yuan not to look for the Buddha statue anymore. Hearing that, Zhu Yuan realized that Fu Gai had repeatedly prevented him from looking for the statue. Fu Gai was at peace because he tried to protect Zhu Yuan, even if he had to die. Zhu Yuan decided to leave the basement without Fu Gai. He was annoyed that his father showed him to a temple full of traps. Then he remembered all the clues from beginning to end and he figured out the answer. Yao Buren went to see Lao Zhafeng, who turned out to be his grandfather. He said that the statue of the Buddha head was in his hands. Hearing that, his grandfather was happy because Yao Buren won this battle. The next day, Yao Buren took over as the recipient of the Buddha head statue. However, he exposed the ugliness of the chairman of Bloom Blossom 5, who often certified fake antiques as genuine antiques. Soon Zhu Yuan arrived. He told the story of his father and grandfather that he kept private for more than 50 years. Then he claimed that the Buddha head statue was a fake. Yannian approached him and gave him a bundle containing a hammer. Zhu Yuan quickly hit the statue until the outer layer peeled off. He realized that his father's riddle was that the original statue was covered by something. This shocked the reporters and guests at the press conference. After the incident, Zhu Yuan went to his father's grave. He found a letter of regret written by his father. The letter contained that Zhu Yuan's father felt sorry and apologized for leaving him as a child. He did this so that Zhu Yuan could live like a normal child even though he lost his time with Zhu Yuan. Seeing that, Zhu Yuan felt sad and touched. Then he found a candy in the letter. The candy was his father's gift because Zhu Yuan had successfully solved the mission of finding the head of the original Buddha statue. Then Zhu Yuan continued his life with a better person and appreciated his life.